The chief correspondent is back, which means breaking news. What have you got?
Arsenal were left reeling once again as VAR stole the spotlight for all the wrong reasons in their clash against West Ham, leaving Mikel Arteta's side and their supporters feeling robbed of a result that could have changed the complexion of the Premier League title race. What unfolded at the London Stadium was not simply a game of football but another reminder of how the technology, designed to improve the game, has instead deepened the frustration of players, coaches and fans. Arsenal, fighting at the top of the table, found themselves victims of decisions that felt inexplicable, controversial, and ultimately decisive in the outcome of the match. The match itself was a heated affair from the opening whistle, with Arsenal controlling much of the possession and dictating the tempo, while West Ham looked to soak up pressure and exploit opportunities on the counter. The Gunners carved out chances through the creativity of Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka, while Gabriel Jesus and Leandro Trossard constantly tested the Hammers' back line. Yet, despite Arsenal's dominance, the major talking point of the night was not about their attacking play but about the interventions of VAR that swung momentum and robbed them of crucial opportunities. The first flashpoint came midway through the first half when Saka burst into the box, only to be clipped by Emerson Palmieri as he surged past him. To everyone watching, it looked like a clear penalty. Saka had beaten his man, had possession, and was fouled from behind. The referee initially waved play on, but Arsenal expected VAR to intervene and correct what seemed like an obvious error. Instead, after a brief review, play resumed without so much as a second look on the pitch side monitor. The disbelief among Arsenal players was visible, with Odegaard and Declan Rice both gesturing in frustration. For the fans, it was yet another example of VAR inconsistencies, where identical fouls in other matches have resulted in penalties. If that decision was frustrating, what followed in the second half was infuriating. Arsenal thought they had equalized when Gabriel bundled home from a corner, only for the goal to be ruled out after a lengthy VAR check for a supposed foul in the build-up. The contact was minimal, with replays showing barely any infringement, yet the officials judged it enough to disallow the goal. Such microscopic scrutiny only seemed to work against Arsenal, and it left supporters questioning whether the same standard would have been applied if the situation were reversed. It was the kind of decision that breaks momentum and saps belief, and West Ham immediately capitalized with a quick counter that nearly resulted in a goal. The drama didn't stop there. Later in the game, Arsenal were once again denied a chance to level when Trossard appeared to be taken down in the box by Kurtzuma. The defender's leg clearly impeded Trossard's movement, but once again VAR decided there was not enough in it. Arteta's frustration boiled over on the touchline as he remonstrated with the fourth official, while the away end erupted with boos and chants about corruption and inconsistency. The sense of injustice was palpable, and it overshadowed everything else happening on the pitch. By the final whistle, Arsenal had fallen short not because they were outplayed but because decisions beyond their control shaped the game. West Ham's resilience deserved credit, but the narrative was dominated by what Arsenal had been denied rather than what the Hammers had earned. VAR, once touted as the solution to refereeing errors, had once again created more questions than answers. Arsenal supporters could point to specific moments where the outcome of the game shifted due to interventions, or lack thereof, by those sitting in front of the monitors. This was not the first time Arsenal have felt aggrieved this season, and the pattern is beginning to weigh heavily on their campaign. Every point matters in a title race that looks set to go down to the wire, and dropped points in controversial circumstances could prove costly come May. Arteta, who has never been shy about voicing his opinion on officiating, will once again be forced into the uncomfortable position of criticizing the system without crossing the line that brings disciplinary action from the FA. His players, meanwhile, are left to channel their anger into future performances, though one can only wonder how many more times they will have to endure such scenarios. Fans are growing increasingly vocal, with many taking to social media to declare that the Premier League is becoming a lottery where VAR's subjective decisions play as big a role as the actual football on the pitch. Calls for reform are louder than ever, with demands for more transparency, accountability, and consistency in how decisions are made. For Arsenal, however, that will be of little comfort in the immediate term. They needed points, and instead they walked away from the London Stadium empty-handed, their frustration compounded by the feeling that the system is stacked against them. The debate over VAR will continue to rage on, but for Arsenal the damage is already done. Matches like this remind everyone of just how fine the margins are at the top of the table, and how the fate of a season can swing not on brilliance or mistakes from players, but on decisions in a darkened room miles away from the pitch. Arsenal were robbed, not by their opponents, but by the very system meant to ensure fairness. And unless changes are made, the story will repeat itself not just for Arsenal, but for every club that dares to dream of success in a league increasingly defined by controversy.